Welcome to Discovering Lake County. I am your host, David Woll, and this is the show where we uncover the stories, businesses, and people that make Lake County an incredible place that we all know and love. With over 30 unique communities, hundreds of businesses, and countless local gems, there's no shortage for inspiring people and places for me to highlight. From the bustling downtowns to the quiet neighborhoods, from local entrepreneurs to dedicated community leaders, we have so much to cover, and I'm here to take you along for the ride. Every episode will be packed with engaging conversations, a touch of humor, and plenty of passion for this amazing county we call home. Sit back, relax, and join me as we discover the stories that make Lake County shine. This is Discovering Lake County. 1 minute, your world is normal. The next, it's gone. A flood, a fire, a crime scene. Your home shattered. Your business shut down. Your life on pause. But in the darkest hour, when chaos knocks at your door, that's when Serve Pro of Northwest Lake County shows up. Not just a company, not just a cleanup crew, but neighbors, parents, coaches, locals who care. Drake and his team aren't just restoring properties. They're restoring peace, restoring dignity, restoring lives. So when your worst day arrives, call the oh no guy who becomes your thank God guy. Serve Pro of Northwest Lake County. Locally owned, nationally known, unshakably trusted. From devastation to restoration. Serve Pro, Northwest Lake County. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Discovering Lake County. I'm in beautiful Mundelein, Illinois today. I'm at Frank's for the Memories. Jim, very nice to have you here, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Looking forward to this.
Yeah, okay, so your place is, let's get right into it. This place is legendary.
Yeah, I've been told. That's what people tell me. But yeah, no, we've been doing this for 40 years here.
I can't believe it, 40 years. So one of the things that attracted me to here, I used to eat here all the time because I went to Carmel right down the road.
Yeah.
But the stories of family business, like I say, you celebrated your 40-year anniversary not so long ago. So I want you to take the audience back and say, how do we even get started?
Sure. Whenever I start any of these stories, we got inducted into the National Wing Hall of Fame. And, anytime I start any of the stories of the history, I always start out by giving my mom and dad all the credit. The first year, the first 3, the first 5, 10. After 10, we were kind of getting very established because of the wings. But those first years, very tough. Everybody knows that in the restaurant business.
Yeah.
And they just did things that they didn't give up. And so, I kind of took that as I rolled with it for the last 20 years. What
year are we talking?
84.
84?
Yeah.
What was it? Wait, was that... Okay, you took over in 84.
No. My parents, this is started in 84.
I forgot how old I was.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That was 40 years ago? Oh, my God. All right, I won't interrupt you anymore. 84.
Oh, yeah,
Holy
you're
cow.
old. We're old. I'm sorry, where you said?
1984. So
yeah, so they had this idea, obviously, and I went to college, and then I started hearing about this, idea of them starting a restaurant. Neither of my parents were ever in any kind of restaurant field, don't know nothing about it, cooked some hot dogs in the back grill. Yeah, it was about it. So my dad always wanted a hot dog stand. Okay. We would go to church. He'd see on the corner of 176 and Midlothian, where there's an oil place, an oil change place there now, but it was just an empty lot, and he just always wanted to have a little hot dog stand, and it was basically like one of these, like a little trailer, pop up the front, and you just sit out and lean out and be like, what can I get for you, but that's what his idea was, and then obviously, brick and mortar building is what they ended up with. So they had this idea, my dad, of doing hot dogs like they do in Buffalo. So here, everybody's steaming a hot dog, and in Buffalo, anywhere you go, it's a charbroiled hot dog. There's no steamed hot dog. They do them right there. There's like 3 name brands there. The one we use is Salen's, but we used to have another one called Malecki, and all from Buffalo. So the hot dog that we have here gets shipped in from Buffalo, and that's what we've always used.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anybody that's from Buffalo, when they see that, they get crazy excited. They're like, oh, my God,
Right.
And so they had this idea of the hot dog. My dad did, of the hot dog restaurant, and then they started. My mom did get involved in it, but they started to get more of a menu going. So I would say it was about 3 months before they were getting ready to open. A cousin of mine from Buffalo, Carol Gospodarski, a little shout out to Carol, and she looked at the menu and she said, well, "You can't be a Buffalo." They wanted like a Buffalo themed restaurant. The hot dog. We have a Loganberry drink in here. Okay. There was a couple other things they were going to do the Buffalo style, but no wings. So my cousin saw that there was no wings on the menu, and she said,
"You can't do that, right?
You can't be Buffalo. You got to do the wings." My parents didn't. My mom didn't think that it would go well because nobody around here knew what wings were. In Buffalo, sure, but around here, nobody. So my cousin said, "Get my brother Billy, get 3-4 of his friends together. I'll cook up the wings. They eat them. You decide on whether it's going to be a hit or not." And so, of course, it went crazy. My brother's friends were just like more. And so that is kind of where, the wings started, the idea for the wings. And so
that wasn't on the original menu?
Nope.
Hey, Lake County, I know you know a teacher out there that needs to be recognized. I'm Jody Sigmars, former educator, now realtor, and I'm here representing Educators Advantage. We want you to nominate a Teacher of the Month. Click the link in the show notes and nominate your favorite teacher. Make your favorite teacher feel appreciated and give them a shout out.
Really? Okay, let me stop you really quick.
Yeah.
Why? So family from Buffalo? Like what makes it so important for Buffalo?
So my mom and dad are from Buffalo.
Okay.
My dad is from Williamsville, suburbs of Buffalo, and my mom is from South Buffalo. Irish, Mahoney is her last name.
Gotcha.
And so all of my relatives are from the Buffalo area. My mom and dad, really, in the early stages, are the only ones that actually moved out. We moved to Ohio. I was born in Ohio. And then we moved when I was 5 to here. And my dad was a salesman, sold bath products. And so, I was going to tell that story too, because when we were young, my dad was a pretty damn good salesman.
Right.
He was making some pretty good bucks back then. But it was Village Bath Products was the name of the company. And when my friends would come over to the house, they'd use the bathroom, and they would be completely blown away that there was a pump soap in there.
Oh,
so
really?
Yeah, they were this company was like the inventor. They had the patents on the pump soap in the beginning and pump toothpaste. So we had that in there, and my friends, all kinds of soap stuff, soaps on the ropes and all that kind of stuff. So all my relatives are from the Buffalo area. My mom and dad, moved out of there, but with deep roots in Buffalo, and the food there is just amazing to me. I mean, it's just like that. A hot dog is supposed to be done on a char grill, not dipped in the hot water.
Right.
That's kind of what we. And sometimes they say dirty water. I think if you put dirty water in, it makes it even more or less appealing.
I think, yeah.
But I get it. It's a Chicago dog. I am not bashing a Chicago dog by no means.
Right.
I mean, I've had them many times at Cubs games, and I love it. But then, once I started eating these, I don't think I've had a steamed dog in a long, long time. So.
Nice. Okay, interesting from soap salesman to wanting to start a hot dog joint.
Yeah.
That's kind of
cool.
So
the business that he was in kind of crapped out.
Okay.
One of these things where he had basically all of Illinois, the territory, and southern Wisconsin. So, and kind of later on in his career also, or I should say, they divvied up all this territory with the younger kids coming out of college and gave, so he had a very small territory now, and then he had to start making decisions on what to do. He went out on his own, did his own thing. It's like he would go to little boutique craft places,
mm-hmm.
Where you could sell little soap and different, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just giggling because the way that you tell the story is that your dad wanted to do this and your dad was really into this. So what does mom think about this idea? You didn't say mom and dad came up with this idea.
Not in the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
She fought it, and then you look 40 years later, and obviously there was a lot of good decisions to be made and hard decisions, but they all worked out. She was not, the restaurant business it's not easy. Yeah. And so basically in the beginning, my dad was still a salesperson. And so on the weekends he was working, full time, but on the weekdays he was out on the road buzzing around, trying to sell this stuff. So my mom, who really didn't have any, she wasn't gang home, about the restaurant, right, and she's the one working. So she's here at 9 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, trying to run a brand new restaurant. It was probably, I don't know if I could do it, honestly. I mean, I think I could, but to just kind of persevere through it, and you get knocked down, and they had a couple bad years there, and but a lot of contributing people around, people that owned this building. We actually knew the Abernathys.
Yeah. Famous name in Mundelein.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So Mark is a very good friend of mine, and Mr. George Abernathy let us slide on rent payments at times. So all these different things that happened for us to get to this 40 years. But my mom was a big part of it because she was in here most of it and kept the consistency. It was very consistent. So
that's what I hear from a lot of restaurant owners too. The consistency is the key to everything.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know why you would start it and not be in your restaurant and making sure that's happening, because what happens is, I always say, I tell my employees this, one customer comes in and they have a bad experience, they will tell 10 to 15 people and they want them to tell even more. Right. And somebody comes in and has a good experience and they might tell, 2 or 3 people.
Absolutely.
But the people that don't, they're trying to, especially with social media. I mean,
Are you trying to tell me people are negative these days somehow? Isn't that funny though? That's how it works, right?
Yeah.
And
so, but if you're not doing it on this end, say, hey, fix it at least, because right. I'm not here as much as I used to be, but I trust these guys, right, and they fix it before the person leaves, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah. Listen, your business deserves to be special. Don't let your neighbor's kid design your website. Don't spend hours trying to chase down the most recent social media trends. Don't just hope that your customers find you somehow. The Loop Marketing is a full-service marketing agency. We are a group of talented, creative, and experienced marketers who focus on high-touch customer service and results. Our clients think of us as their in-house marketing department with accountability and personalized strategies. We work with all kinds and all sizes of business, and we would love to work with yours.
Okay, so going back, so your mom's in here 9 to 9. Dad's out still hustling.
Yeah.
At one point, did he give up the sales job and then just come here? Was this
yes, because
full time for both of them?
I'd say it was after about 2 years, because then his business definitely started picking up. But I think he was still doing his sales stuff out there. After probably about the second year of us being open. And he was, busting his ass coming in here. All this stuff that's done in here, all the woodwork, we had some other, but things that, anything, he did that.
Right.
Yeah. When we first came in here, this was a produce place. So you had the slats over here and the slats over here. You'd walk down.
Really?
It was only open for maybe a season, if not. And when they got done, shut the doors, whatever was in here was still in here, so it reeked. There was fruit flies. It was like, they had to take all that stuff out. I wasn't involved in it. I was out at school. And
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 questions in the startup too.
Yeah.
I want to know about name, and I want to know, don't let me forget about how do you choose a location too. So Dad's dream, so Dad makes up the name?
Well, my mom came up with that name.
Oh, she did?
Yes.
Okay.
So I wasn't there. My mom, I don't think I was there, but they were driving in the car, I think back from Buffalo, and my dad had been talking about this restaurant thing that he's going to do now for a while, and my mom kept on shaking her head, nope. And he continued, and so in the car ride back, after about 2 hours of her saying no, 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 and they were trying to think of the name. We got to have a name. And my mom came up with Franks for the Memories. She just kind of just said it out. And she said, Franks for the Memories. And that's all she said. And, I think my dad probably said, what? Franks for the Memories. That's the name. And so Franks for the Memories, she was back there and she was thinking of the song from Bob Hope. And every USO tour that he finished with, he always finished with Thanks for the Memories. And so my brother is he used to work for Hallmark. And so he's basically a cartoonist, but, he very good with drawing.
That's cool.
So the logo, I have a shirt for you also.
Awesome.
I got a...
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I'm here.
Yeah.
And for some wings to bring home or something. So he's a cartoonist.
So he was an artist, and so he came up with so in our logo the F is hot dogs. So then the memories is like musical notes.
Yep.
So I'll show you.
Yeah.
And so he came up with this logo, and it's based off of that, Franks for the Memories.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So it's a whole family thing, right?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I mean, my brother was, big part of that back then. He never worked in the restaurant. My sister has worked here for a little bit. My younger brother Joey has worked here for a little bit. But nobody else has worked here, is the business.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you start running that, then where are you guys living? Are you living in Mundelein?
Yeah, I grew up in Loch Lomond.
Oh. So my aunt did as well. Yeah, spent a lot of time in Loch Lomond. What a beautiful area.
Oh yeah, just be down at that lake all the time and fishing and
So cool. All right, so you're doing that. So you growing up, mom and dad are running Franks for the Memories right here at the same location.
No, when I was growing up, I was going off to college.
Right, you're at college.
Yeah. So once again,
forgot how old you were. Sorry. So you get back
now
to college.
Now you're making Carmel look like a bad... I went to Mundelein and I got some math going. You're going...
Right. Yeah. Well, it's funny because I want to talk about location as well. So I went to Carmel High School, which is, a quarter of a mile from here?
Fudgies.
Yeah, we're the Fudgies, right. And I graduated in 1990. But for lunch breaks, for whatever, this place was staple, if we had enough money, we could come here, because whether we packed a lunch or whatever we're doing, but this was the spot, famous for wings at that time that we loved.
I might have been here, but when I never was involved in this restaurant in the beginning that much. I'd come in and I'd get food, but
sure, of course.
And back then we had ice cream also, so ice cream was.
Yeah.
And but I moved out to Buffalo for a couple of years in the early 90s.
Okay.
I used to work over here at Hollister, and so I was looking forward to, I was looking to go up. I was down in the mail room, but I wanted to get up and get above that next floor.
Sure.
And somebody else got the job, and I decided I'm going to go out to Buffalo. So I moved out to Buffalo for a couple of years. And then when I came back, that's when I basically been working here. So maybe 92.
Okay.
Consistently from then.
Did you?
I have left a few times and kind of popped up the middle finger to the
Right.
Sorry mom and dad, but I'm done. I'm out of here. Oh, it's very hard to work with your parents. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
Can't even imagine.
Yeah.
So you didn't you weren't oh my gosh, I can't wait to work in the hot dog business.
No.
Okay. Just to make sure.
No.
So that wasn't your dream to do that.
It was not. No.
So you start working here in the early 90s. We'll just call it early 90s.
Yeah.
So how long do your parents work here, and how did...
So I started working here in the early 90s. I was actually working another job, so I was just working here on the weekends. Mm-hmm. And then trying to think where I was at there.
So just how the transition goes, you working...
Oh, so yes. So was working here from 90 up until, I'm trying to think when my wife and I, so yeah, we would have left around 96, I think we were, or 95. And so, as I was saying before, there was these times, working with your parents, not easy. So I was here and trying to do, kind of take some control of it or whatever and help them that way, but they were kind of not wanting that. It was their restaurant, I get it, but I couldn't do it. So my wife's parents, they owned a condo down in Branson, Missouri. So we decided to move down there. So I kind of, for 3 years, I was done with the restaurant. I wasn't working here, wanted out bad. And so this opportunity came to go down there. It was a gated community, condo, golf course. It was really nice.
Sounds like retirement there.
It did sound like I was living large for down there, but I had to, get working. And so I ended up working at this place. It's anybody that's in the St. Louis area would know the Pasta House Company. Okay. And so I started working for them and went from basically a server to general manager within about a year and a half. Work ethic down there is not the greatest, so nobody really wanted to. It was easy to move up down there if you had the the will to do it. So after about 3 years, I had it in Branson. Like I said, the work ethic down there just really was. It's hard to hire people and keep them on with the excuses that they use and stuff. So I decided to come back, and I talked to my parents about moving back and taking this over and being, I got a ton of experience when I was down there, and I wanted to bring it back and kind of build this up and get it going. So that would have been 98. I'm trying to think when one of these crashes were, but it was, the market took a crapper and their investments, everything, so they couldn't retire. And then now I'm back working with my parents again.
Just what you dreamed of, right?
Oh my God, it was not. And right away, it was like almost back into the same stuff that I was like, I can't do this. So I did leave again. I worked with a buddy of mine, and we did to build decks and fences and that hard manual labor. And I'm a restaurant guy. I don't pound nails and so. After a full year of doing that, I really put it out on the table to my parents that this is what I want, and let's do it this now or never. And so then we came up with a contract to buy the restaurant and and me take it over. And
wow,
yeah,
that's a big step.
Yes,
and doing the business deal with your parents too.
Yes.
I'm sure that was fun.
Well, and I got a good, real quick story about that. So the first year that I took it over, I had the conversation with especially my dad. So my mom was not really working in it too much anymore, but I had it with my dad because we, being honest, we didn't get along with each other. We just didn't work well. Right. And I said, listen, when this is all done, you need to go. I'm not hiring you. You are not working here anymore. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to spend all this money and then work with you. So, and he was good with that. And let's see. So I bought it in August. They were retired, and then the first Super Bowl, which is our busiest day of the year, let's see. So it would have been Friday. It would have been early Saturday morning, and my wife and my daughter were out of town, and so I was at home by myself. At about 2:00 in the morning, I woke up with this crazy pain on the side of me. So I had kidney stones. Yeah. And, anybody that's had kidney stones, they always, the nurses all said to me, now you know what it feels like to
give birth,
to have a kid. And I got so sick of hearing that, but it was this pain. And so I'm in the hospital. I had to get to the, I didn't go to the emergency, but I went to the acute center over there, and they knew exactly what I had. And so then they sent me over to Lake Forest. Well, this is on Saturday, the day before Super Bowl. I had to call my parents.
How did that eating crow right there, right? How was that phone call? What was
my parents?
The kidney stone or making a phone call?
My parents are awesome.
Yeah.
They had, it was no question about it at all. My dad, went right to it. So, yes, it was very humbling to just never say never, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And
how honored were they, Bola? I'm sure that they loved that.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I'm sure they wanted to work one more Super Bowl too.
Right.
Hardest day of the year. It's a lot of it's a busy day, but it's not easy.
Right. Okay, let's talk about Super Bowl really quick.
Yeah,
I
didn't. I don't think I even mentioned that in the the pre-notes where I was like,
yes,
maybe that's subconsciously. I don't even want to think about it yet.
So in my adult life, how I get reconnected with Franks for the Memories is, don't come to Mundelein a lot, living in Grays Lake, doing everything, and had a Super Bowl party, and somebody said, well, are we going to do what we used to do? I said, well, what was that? And I'm like, get wings from Franks for the Memories. So making big orders, Super Bowl. I'm probably one of the pain in the ass customers, but ordering just a shit ton of wings. Yeah. Right? Any idea how many wings on a Super Bowl?
Well, first of all, no shit customers.
Right.
We love it. It is a day that. Yeah, no, but I mean, we deal with everything, and we've been doing it for so long now. In those first ones, very stressful because we didn't have our shit together. We were behind, but now we're on top of it. So the question after that though was what did you say?
How many wings?
So 30. It's like about 3,000 pounds between Saturday and Sunday.
3,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's our busiest day of the year.
Yeah.
And it could be busier if the Bears could just get in.
Oh my gosh!
One playoff game, please, McCaskies. I'm asking you.
I wouldn't put all your eggs in one basket on that one.
It makes a huge difference in our business, thousands of dollars.
Right.
And if they continue to go through, to the next round, and the next round, obviously Super Bowl, but it's a huge difference in my business, and I would imagine everybody else's if they could get into that first playoff game.
Oh yeah. Okay, so Super Bowl is wings the biggest thing?
Yeah, on Super Bowl we only do wings.
Only do wings.
Only
on
wings.
Super Bowl.
Wings, blue cheese celery, or that ranch and celery.
Really?
And that's it. On Saturday you can get whatever you want, but on that Sunday it's wings only.
So did you see that get more like before you took over? Was it that popular then?
Oh yeah.
Like so off it just builds from there.
So 1985.
Oh yeah.
Well, we opened in 1984. We opened in August of 84, and the first year that we were the first Super Bowl, we had a line of people out the door here, maybe only 30.
Right.
But we only had like maybe 6 buckets. So we weren't prepared. So these people were waiting maybe, like a half an hour to get their wings. And then that was just a sign like, okay, what's,
we need to be ready for this, right?
And so, it's morphed into, a huge day for us.
I guess.
Yeah. The first, 85 was the Bears, and that really kind of put us on a map. There was, we got real popular from after that.
It's fun how that happens, right? Like who would think that? Like, it's crazy, and to be prepared for that. Like, it's nice to be known for something famous like that everybody would come and get wings.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay,
it seems crazy. So long ago. It's hard for me to remember some of these.
Right.
We need more.
I know.
Recent memories.
Well, you had to tell me how old I was, like how 40 years ago was. So I want wings from Franks for the Memories for Super Bowl. What would you tell a good customer? Like, when do I order these? How far in advance do I do this?
Sure.
Today?
No.
Okay.
No, not today. No, I mean, it's not until you get usually the 2 teams established, then you'll start getting all the calls. If I could get all these calls earlier than the day of Super Bowl would be great. That would be awesome. But that's not, So we have on our website and on our Facebook page, there is a guide that tells you the do's and don'ts.
Oh, good.
So, as I said, on Saturday, if you want to get boneless and you want to get all this other stuff, you can get that on Saturday. But Sunday is wings, and that's it. So, definitely call in early.
Mm-hmm.
And when you call in, know what you kind of want.
I can't tell any frustration there at all. You're probably on the phone like, really? Come on.
It's part of it's the hard part of the job where you gotta, after you've done 3,000, how many calls, and you gotta keep that up. But here's that question again, and it's, how many wings are in a pound, and you tell them, and then they say, well, how many is in 2 pounds? And
okay, let's answer some of these frequently asked questions for people listening right now. How many wings are in a pound?
There's 7 pieces per pound.
Okay.
Yeah. Depends always, we sell our wings by the pound. So a lot of places sell them by the piece. When I got involved in this, knowing how I pay for them, is I pay for them by the pound. So if the wings are these really big and I have to give now 10 pieces for an order, but the math just wasn't there. So the wings that we've always used are good size wings. Mm-hmm. So 7 pieces per pound. And then what was your?
Yeah, no, I was like most common questions you get.
The most common. So yeah, how many per pound?
How many different sauces do you guys have?
So we've got mild, which is like a buttery flavor.
Right.
Medium's our most popular. That's got, I would say, a little kick to it. Nothing wimpy, nothing, too hot. Hot and extra hot. I always tell people they're about the same. They're just the same. And I was going to say a little shout out to Frank's Red Hot. A lot of people, they'll hide that and try to keep it. My dad used to do that. He used to take the labels off of the things and throw them into the garbage. So, if anybody wanted to go through the garbage, right. And I'm proud of that because I don't want to use it. That's the best sauce. Frank's I don't want to. Yeah, for me it is. There's a lot of other cheaper stuff out there I can get, but we've never done that. So
interesting.
Looking for a place where there's always something happening? Welcome to the Grays Lake Village Center. Whether you're planning a family outing, a date night, or a fun night out with friends, the Village Center has something for everyone, year-round. Enjoy a fantastic mix of restaurants, unique retail shops, and exciting events that bring the community together. And just steps away, you'll find Central and Jelliton Parks, home of the library, aquatic center, skate park, senior center, and numerous recreational opportunities. Whew, that's a mouthful. So if you're looking for something to do, come explore, dine, shop, and play right here in the heart of Grays Lake. Find out more at grayslakevillagetocenter.com and go check them out on social media and give them a like, give them a follow.
And fun that it's Frank's too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I've contacted him before and told him, our name is Frank's for the memories. We've been using Frank's hot,
Right.
We put that shit on everything.
Right. Exactly.
But never got a hold of me.
Shout out to you guys. Get a hold of him right now. Call Jim today.
Durkee Red Hot. That's the company. But so some of the questions that we get, I wrote some of that stuff down, but the main one is when it's a salesperson, they come in and they ask for Frank. Where's Frank? And it's a dead giveaway, and you just be done with those. My dad was a salesman. I give him, I know that, but
hopefully we know that they didn't listen to this podcast because then they would know how the name came about, right?
Yeah. So
I make the phone call. I want how many pounds? Could I eat a pound of wings?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, pound and a half, easy. I mean, we've got these the championship year for Carmel.
Yep.
Andy Bitto, whatever they had the those kids were coming in here, and they were eating. Some of them were eating 3 pounds by themselves. They would have a pizza puff.
What? No way.
And then they'd have, something else. Oh yeah, they would just devour.
That's awesome though.
But like me, I mean, I can only eat 4 or 5 wings now.
Do you still eat wings?
I do. Yeah. I do. It's still, one of my favorite, things on there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be honest, that it's kind of worn off a little bit. I used to, that was my thing. I think it's just my old man gut now, but right. I just can't eat them like I used to. Yeah. I'll get through that 4th wing, and I'm kind of like, okay, I'm good. I couldn't eat, I can eat 7, but
right. No, but it's
don't
fun
need
like
to.
That, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of people look at it, and some when COVID hit, it skyrocketed price and everything, and I always stood on it. This is the quality. You're getting the quality. It's always going to be there. I can go and get these tiny little wings, and you can get 10 wings, for that same price, but I'm giving you 7 with the meat on it. They're just. You'll see. We're going to cook some up, and
right.
Right.
Yeah. We're going to do that, and hopefully everybody's seen that video because we're going to hopefully have this posted before we do this too.
Yeah.
Let's do this because we're right at about the half-hour mark. I'd like to pause and do something we call the Lake County Hot Seat. Some rapid fire questions for you to get to know Jim a little bit better. Because folks, the one thing I really like about the show, and the one thing that we do, is that we know that Frank's for the Memories has great hot dogs, great wings, everything. But I like when people will shop somewhere because of your family story, or maybe just come in to check it out because they listen to this, right? That's what means something to me, that we hopefully build a little bit of community. And I have one question on here that I'm going to love to do, just looking over some of my favorite things. So a couple hot seat questions. First car you ever owned?
First car was I would say like a 78 Volkswagen Beetle.
You had a Beetle for your first car?
My first car.
Wow.
I bought it with the money I, made by working at Eagle Foods over here, or a paper route or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But it was right up the street from me, right on Killarney Pass. I would go buy it every day, and it's for sale. So I bought it, and the thing lasted maybe a little over a year.
Interesting.
But
what
had
color
a big
was
hole.
it?
Red. Had a great heater in it, but otherwise nothing else. Had a big hole in the floor.
Little Flintstones action for you.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I've never had anybody, after hundreds of interviews, never had anybody had a Beetle as their first car.
Oh, yeah. Stick, too. I think they were out maybe Stick, but it was fun.
I have no idea. I've never driven them. First concert you ever attended?
Steve Martin. Wild and Crazy Guy.
Stop it. Are you serious? How cool is that?
I mean, if you consider that a concert, but...
I'm going to say yes. I love it. Steve
Martin was my first, going to Horizon and seeing it, and it was his Wild and Crazy Guy tour, so it was... me and my buddy went, I don't know why, and interesting...
Because you're wild and crazy guys.
Yeah.
But that's interesting.
But interesting thing about it is just him and I went. One of our parents, we're not sure, but at about 10, 12 years old, they drove us to Horizon, dropped us off. We went in.
At 10 or 12 years old?
Yeah.
Could you imagine parents doing that these days?
Oh, my God.
Wow.
But I would have to say my first real concert was Kiss.
Nice.
Kiss fan. Yeah. Oh, yeah?
Right. Nice. Yes.
Ah, oh, yeah. Where at? Mine was the old Chicago Stadium.
Yeah, I don't... Oh my gosh, there too. Well, we were talking yesterday about how we used to watch concerts, whether it was Poplar Creek or it'll always be the Rosemont Horizon, right?
Yeah.
Or
Poplar Creek.
Yeah, Poplar Creek was a lot of fun. Tell me somewhere you like to travel that you haven't been.
I would love to go to Ireland.
Ireland.
Yeah, I've never been to Europe.
Nice.
My wife's been there a few times and invited me, but restaurant, you can't do stuff like that. You go to Europe, you don't go for a couple days. You're going to be out there yeah.
Well, you better put that on your list. You better start doing that. Plan it now.
Yeah.
If you had to have a superpower, what would it be?
A superpower. I would love to be able to fly like a hawk. I'm into the the raptor kind of birds like that, and I love watching them just gliding up there and hanging out. But if I had the ability to fly,
very cool. Tell me about the second time you got arrested.
Second time.
It's not really supposed to be answered. You can if you want. I mean,
no.
You don't strike me as the guy that's been out of trouble your whole life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe because we've talked about some mutual friends that we have, and I would know the association, right?
Well, and I grew up in Mundelein. I mean, that's our stigma. You're from Mundelein? Libertyville kids, and we were from Mundelein. Let's see. So, this is a good one.
I love it. I love that you're answering.
We went up to Alpine skiing. And my buddy's older brother drove us up there, and he was, I think he had maybe just got out of the service or whatever. And so my buddy Kevin and I, we went back out to the van to smoke some weed.
Okay.
And I had got this stuff from a buddy, and it was still like in a shoebox. And, we called it duckweed because the guy said it was grown in duck, whatever. That's what we had the name for it. So my buddy Kevin and I were out in the van, and the lights are shining down on there and everything, and so you blow your you're hit out the window. And just as he did that, all of a sudden the cops were right on the side. It literally blew right onto his face. They watch you, by the way. If you ever go up there, they watch you when you go out to your cars.
Right.
But now it's somewhat legal, so I don't think they.
Yeah.
So we got busted. They brought us in, and they never arrested us, but they called our parents to come and pick us up.
Yeah.
And the guy came back in and he said, yeah, one of the parents, they're not, pretty upset. One of them was crying. That's my mom.
Yeah, I was going to say, how'd that work out for you? Probably you would have been better off being arrested, right, than sent to your parents. Remember those days? Wow.
Yeah. So,
That's awesome.
And my buddy's, he's on the younger side of older brothers. So that, that mother, she'd been down the road already. I'm not going to cry over this one.
Right, and you get to be the newbie and in trouble.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. So one question.
There's more. I got second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth.
We're working on your image here, Jim. This is like and he will be here to say hello if he's not in jail.
It's what makes you,
Right.
Exactly. You come out of it.
It makes us smart.
I never was in Joliet, so.
Well, there's a difference in jail and prison, everybody.
Yes.
There's a big difference.
Yeah.
On a serious note, what do you wish that, maybe something you wish you learned sooner in life? Whether it has to do with business or family or a good word of wisdom for people.
Yeah. I would say to stay in school. I went to hotel restaurant management school up in upstate New York, and going away for school is, it's difficult, but I was more interested in being up in the mountains and skiing, and doing all the stuff that's around there than being in class.
Sure.
And so I kind of crapped out after that first year. If I wanted to go back, they were going to accept me, but I had to do this stuff. And then I just started getting into working, and I would say that I wish I would have stayed with the schooling thing. And I know they say it's never too late, but I never was a good student. So
I know what that's about.
Yeah.
You said something interesting before, how you left and you worked your way up to general manager of a restaurant, learned a bunch of stuff, and came back and brought that to the business. Do you remember what one of those most valuable things that you brought from working in that industry coming back here to Mundelein?
Sure. Managing the people. Really, I had a lot of respect for all of my servers. I had 200 some odd employees at times. The business did just under $3 million in the season. So we weren't even open full year. It was a seasonal kind of thing down in Branson. So, you do that much business, it's very busy, but you're not going to do that unless you have a really good staff. So
Absolutely.
they respected me, and they made good money, but so I brought that back here, and kind of, I was going to mention that, Javier's back there getting ready to open up. He's been with me now for, probably over 10 years.
Oh, wow.
On and off. The last, he's consistently now for a while, but he's always come and gone. I had Francisco, who doesn't work for me anymore, but he was at 27 years. Victor is probably over 15 years.
Wow.
Pedro, who came right out of high school his junior year, he's now been with me, for the last, I think he's at, a little over 5 years.
Wow.
They like working here. I pay them well. I respect them. They respect me. So that's what it was. I remember when I first started down there, and I had a good general manager who kind of trained me, but, you can't treat them like they're kids, right? Or you have to treat them with respect, and
Sure.
And if they mess up, you deal with that also. But praising, that was a thing. Is what I learned is you can tell them you did this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. But I never heard anything that they actually did right. So you go, you did this, pretty good, but you got to work on this, and that kind of stuff.
Like raising kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You praise them for the good stuff.
Yeah.
Because the negative reinforcement doesn't go very far, especially in business, right? Wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. And that's good. I always say a sign of a really good business, especially in the restaurant industry. You see so much turnover. To have long-time employees says a lot about everything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How everything is run, and probably how you treat your customers too, right?
Exactly.
Because you want customers to stay around that long as well.
Exactly.
They have a ton of choices.
And to my customers out there, and I think they know that here. It's not an easy business. They might have seen at times where, things aren't running so well, or, like if I had, kind of ragged on an employee in front of, somebody. Yeah, I did that, but I learned from it. I don't do it. Try not to do it, and I realize that's not good, and that's back to the respect thing, but some of these people, they push it, the employees, they just push you to the point where you just have no choice except to blow your lid,
right?
And that's the hard part of this business, having to deal with a lot of that stuff.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, you have employees, and you have customers, and there's a lot of demand put on you, especially restaurant business.
Yeah, but like I said, the consistency, that's my job.
Yep.
And all that other stuff, it's part of it, but if that food ain't going out that front door the way that I want it, and so that person comes back in and says, oh my God, that was the best tasting burger I've ever had, or whatever. If that consistency isn't there, the burgers...
You're making me hungry, man. Talking about burgers and everything.
And that's the thing. We are very well known for the wings, but that hot dog is awesome, and the burger is awesome. I mean, I get that from people all the time. This is probably the best burger I've ever had, for the price, and it's always fresh. It's not a frozen product or anything. So, I got to get some of my customers have been coming in and, pound of wings, blue cheese celery, and small fry. Blue cheese celery, that's what they get every time. It's like,
try a burger, man. Right?
Yeah.
No, that's
I don't want you to get away from the wings, but,
Right.
try something. Everything here is good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, I got two more questions for you, and then we're going to move on because that's some important
Okay.
stuff I want to ask you. So I always ask this one, which is funny that I'm infamous for, not famous for, but one question I ask is, have you ever eaten a roller dog from a gas station?
I did hear that question.
Which is kind of insulting to you. We got steamed, we got charbroiled, and we got roller dog.
Oh, I love food. I mean, like I said, as I'm gotten older, I can't eat some of this stuff, but I've eaten all kinds of stuff.
Right.
And I will say, yes, I can't remember exactly where, but I have eaten it, and it's been a long time. But what I remember, and I want to say it was either Midway or O'Hare, and they had the roller dog, you're walking by and the roller dog things right there.
Yeah.
And the woman that was cleaning the window that was right behind it, and she was spraying right over all the roller dogs.
Oh my! She was disinfecting the hot dogs, man. That's all.
Well, she was cleaning the glass. She was making the glass so you could see it, but spraying right over it. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
When you're in the restaurant business, you
look at everything differently, right?
It's kind of like that Seinfeld, where come in and you could see, there's certain things you look at and then you go, I don't know if I want to eat here.
Right. Yep. I know. I could think of like 10 different things with that. So you have eaten a roller dog. So
I have.
You're
yes.
not totally against.
No, and taquitos too. I mean, I'm sure that's
on a road trip. I mean,
yes.
This kind of stuff you have to have too.
Yeah.
And the most important question that we'll ask that's very relevant to the podcast is, what's the chances that Bigfoot exists?
Yeah.
You're shying away from this because you don't know about my fondness. He's
I
going
do.
to say 0 right now.
I was going to mess with you. I have a wreath. It sounds weird, but like a wooden wreath thing.
Nothing
and my
sounds
dog,
weird to me.
And so my dog, who's no longer, but whenever I brushed her, I would clean out the hair on it, and then I would stuff it in this. And I was going to bring you this waft of this hair and be like, "This is Bigfoot hair."
We can't have that kind of hair in a restaurant either.
You said you have one in your front yard.
I do.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, because actually we didn't know, but we're basically neighbors. Live out there.
Yeah. So with Bigfoot, I would say, I would like it to be true for all those people that are out there looking.
Sure.
But why they haven't found one yet, and these trail cameras haven't found them, and all this technology that we have. But I was out in Washington, and that just happened. I don't know if it was probably like 2-3 months ago, but these people go out there looking for, and they're going out to Washington State, which is nasty, going into the woods and stuff like that with all you can just get lost, right? So father and son went out there, were planning on coming back within the day, got lost, weren't prepared, no water, no food, no. Died. 2 of them died, from the hypothermia.
Yeah.
But when I was out there, we have relatives, and we were fishing on a river, and one of those, float things that they push you down on it.
Yeah.
When we came back out, there was a group there, and they were telling us that they were out there looking for Sasquatch, and they did see him, and they also saw his kid.
Really?
Yeah. So
wow.
When I hear that, I got to.
Were they blowing smoke out the window at the same time?
Sure.
Alpine?
It's Washington.
I mean, yeah, of course. So he does. You have firsthand proof that he does exist.
Yes, and a child. So there you go, Dave.
Right. Well, thank you. I appreciate you validating my all the things that I have.
Has anybody messed with your statue?
No.
Okay, good.
No, well, it weighs 900 pounds.
I know, but I think
got my Ring camera right out there
on Lake Street, there was a guy that had
he's got the
dinosaur stuff. I thought somebody messed with those.
Okay, so the funny thing here's really quick about the dinosaurs. I was driving by the dinosaur thing, and I was talking to one of my buddies, and I said, "Wouldn't that be a cool podcast just to find out why he's got dinosaurs in there?" He goes, "Yeah, I don't know, but that guy does banjo lessons." And I went, "What? I mean, come on, the guy who gives banjo lessons with dinosaur bones in his front yard."
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So if you're out there listening, we're coming to get you. But yeah, okay. All right. So thank you for participating in that.
Sure.
We can get back to important things now.
Yeah.
We talked about growing up, and we talked about with family and how everything goes. But how is it surviving 40 years in the restaurant business? This is a big. It's a big deal.
Yeah. When I took it over 20 years ago from my parents, and when I was working with my parents, I had my days off. I had, I could take a vacation. I could do different things. And that was like the slap in the face when I realized, now it's mine. So I would say that first 10 years that I took it over was, I don't want to say I regret, but I mean, birthdays and holidays and all this stuff that I missed, and weekend parties, and that's what you do when you're in the restaurant business. But I've continued to make it successful, and that was always my goal.
Absolutely.
And so within the last 10 years, my life and my job here has become a lot easier because I hired the right staff. You have to pay these guys well, but it's worth it.
Yep.
Where I'm not in here all the time like I used to be. I just had my left knee replaced. I'm going to have my right knee replaced. I could never do that before because there's no way I could take that time off and have faith and trust that my restaurant is running. So,
wow.
Big shout out to my staff right now, and that's been going on for the last 3-4 years for me. Where finally, though.
Right. Well, you had to work really hard to get that a little bit of freedom, right?
Yeah.
Like you said about traveling, you haven't been able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually traveled a lot. I can take off on these little, short trips or little longer ones, and I have complete faith and trust.
Without your phone ringing 20 times.
Yeah. I've always told them. I said, no news is good news.
Absolutely.
So if
don't
you don't
tell
need,
me everything's going great.
Right.
Don't even bother me with that.
If you don't need to tell, if it's something wrong, call me. But just. Same thing, if you guys are on vacation, I'm not going to call you and ask you all the time. So,
right.
So it was a journey, working with my parents, then not working with my parents, and being it all on my own, and it's been good. I don't regret it. I know I use that word, but I don't, because it's a legacy. I always tell my daughter, I was born in 1964. I'm an old soul. I love this building. I love how Mundelein looks just the way it is. A lot of people want to change it and stuff, and it's like, it's Mundelein.
Right. And you're in a very unique spot here too, where it looks like we could, honestly, coming down the road here, it could. Right from the past, right? It's not very modern.
Yeah.
Right. But from your sign out front too, just the area you're at is really kind of nostalgic and cool.
Yeah. Yeah. This building is, it's from the, I would say, late 60s, and it was a building that was built for a business called Griff's Burger. So in the 70s, a lot of Carmel guys would talk about coming here to Griff's Burger, and I've got some information on it, but they're out. Like there's still buildings that look just like this.
Really?
That are down south in Oklahoma, Nebraska. So a guy stopped by. He used to be a truck driver. Saw the building. Knew this building. He said, I used to deliver these things all over, southern. And so then the history is it got dropped out. It was brought up on a train, on a flat car up here, and then they stopped the train.
Which we can hear the train right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And so then they took all the stuff off and brought it down, and it was like a prefab kind of building. Somewhere in here, and I've seen it before, but we've done all this work, but there's a tag that has the name of the building, and
cool.
Yeah, there's the flagpole. There's two behind that which aren't there anymore, but it used to be like the old gas lights.
Really?
Yeah.
How cool is that?
And so if you look at the other ones, they're exactly the same thing. Yeah.
Wow, it's nice to have something with some history to it, right?
Yeah, it is. It's and real quick, my mom and I, when she worked with me, we did a questionnaire once, and it was the last question on there is if there was anything that you wanted changed with Franks from Memories, what would it be? And it was a resounding response. Don't change nothing. Don't change the curtains. Don't paint it. Don't do nothing. Keep it exactly the way it is.
Interesting.
And I've kind of,
that's a nice compliment, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, because it's cool. Right?
Yeah. I could build out, and I could get a lot more people in here, and I think a lot of times that happens. Places go down real quick.
Sure.
And this is what it is. It's a fast food joint. And it's been here for 40 years.
Right.
I know I could change a lot of stuff. What my change is I want to have some nice heat in here when it's because it's an old building,
Right.
and it's got holes all over it. And in the summer, to have coolness in here. But that's kind of still the nostalgic.
Nice. So somebody that's listening that doesn't know where you're located, how would you explain it right here?
Yeah. So 645 East Hawley, and I always tell them that we're between Ace Hardware and Fairhaven Bowling Alley.
Very
and we're
nice.
at the east end of Hawley. So if you get past Carmel, you've gone too far.
Right.
We're between, say 45 and Hawley's or Carmel.
Right.
That's how I kind of get them.
Yeah, because if you're not familiar with this area, you could drive over here and go, way, because this intersects with 176 right here, right?
Yes.
Just right down the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, I say, we're right between Ace and Fairhaven Bowling Alley, and we're the A-frame building. You can't, it's a yellow A-frame.
You can't miss
Chicken
it.
yellow.
Is that what it is? Is that the actual? It's not canary yellow. It's chicken yellow.
Yeah, chicken yellow. Yeah.
Okay, so what about you guys ever thought of selling? Can you sell your recipes? Can you franchise out? Is there anything you've ever thought of?
We've always thought about franchising. I've been down the road. Franchising is very expensive.
Okay.
We're a little mom and pop. And people think we're, you hear 3,500 or 3,000 pounds of chicken wings.
Right.
You're like, man, there must be killing it there, and but there's a lot more that's involved in that. Yeah.
But recipe-wise,
we've looked into that, and people always say, oh, you should sell your sauce, and I say, well, it's not my sauce. As I said, Frank's Red Hot is the majority of my sauce. There's other things that we do, but so they say, well, you can bottle your own sauce, but you have to put on there that you're using Frank's and whatever else might be in there. So here's my thing about that, okay, is say Buffalo Wild Wings, okay, which is a huge company. Those guys, it's an amazing story. Two guys from college, and they used to live in Buffalo, and they wanted the wings, and what they've done with that business is amazing, right? But I believe when they first started, just like we do, we make our sauces back there every morning. It's fresh. We're not pouring it out of a pre-made bottle. So when you put everything in a bottle, you have to preserve it. So you can't have butter now. You have oil. You have maybe something that tastes like butter, but it's not actual butter. That's where you get that flavor. So you lose
right?
You lose that freshness.
Yeah.
And so as far as the franchising, I would love to. Anybody out there want a franchise?
Right.
But
how do you duplicate something like this, though?
Well,
I mean,
do you remember the place Orlando's?
Of course.
Orlando's Beef?
Yeah.
I feel with that. There used to be one in Mundelein. They used to be all over. I mean, not all over. There might have been 3 or 4
Round Lake
of them.
and
Round Lake's still there. That's the original.
We make fun of it because it's not Orlando, it's Orlando's,
yes,
right?
Yes. So the Round Lake one, the original one, is still there, and they're very busy. They got the ice cream shop, but all the other ones, or whatever, especially the one in Mundelein, and they weren't the same. They were different. They maybe started using a different beef or whatever. So how do you control that consistency? And then people say, they're in here, and then, where are you from? Well, I live out in Fox Lake. Well, we got a place in Fox Lake. Yeah, but it's not the same.
Okay. I see.
So to control that would be go through the strict guidebook franchising kind of thing, which is it's just a ton of money.
Yeah.
And
I think you've worked hard enough. You don't need to do all that right now.
I should have done it when I was younger. That's maybe going back to one of those questions. Should I regretting or what I should have done?
Yeah.
I should have maybe done something different. But what we're kind of looking at is is people being able to use the name. Because if you have, you go into a restaurant or you've got something opened up out in Fox Lake and it says Frank's for the Memories, people, I know that place. Oh my God, I got off some wings, and you have people coming in right away. You have, you don't have to build your customer base.
Right, a little brand recognition of that right away.
You got people.
Interesting.
And if you're doing it right, they're going to be telling those other people and those other people and those other people, and it's just like, I don't do any advertising.
Right.
This is my best form of advertisement or anything if I can get into the papers. But that does stuff never, sorry advertisement, but it never really did too much for me.
Right.
Except
just
hit me in the pocketbook.
Your job. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But that's it. If everything's going out right, they're going to come back in.
Right.
They don't want
word of mouth. Right.
2 hot dogs for the price of one. It's like,
right.
What kind of hot dogs are you giving away?
Coming here for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Go get 2 roller dogs for the price of one. Not putting down roller dogs at all. Really.
I wonder if I can put one of those roller dog things in. Get rid of that.
I'm just going to come up to your window eating a roller dog.
Self-serve roller dogs.
Okay. With talking about like the sauce and all these things. Awards that you guys have won. You said something about the Hall of Flame. Did I hear that right?
Yeah. So right up on the wall there. So out in Buffalo every year they have the National Wing Fest.
That's awesome.
It is. If you like wings, even if you don't, I mean it's a lot of fun. And in the last couple of years they had it right on the Bills football field. So you could be right out on the only place they didn't let you go was a logo, but you could walk around on the field.
How cool is that?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So, but when we were there, we National Wing Hall of Flame, Drew Cerza, who is he's the Wing King. He goes by that. He's a great guy. If you ever, you got to check him out. He's a pretty interesting guy. But he heard about us, and so you have to get invited to the Wing Fest. So we did it in 2011, 2012, and I've got trophies over there for second place in the hot sauce, third place in the medium sauce, and then we got a Festival Spirit Award, which I brought the chicken outfit, and I was going around and doing all this stuff. And
is that the same one you're in the parade with, too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you the one in the chicken outfit?
I have been.
Okay.
I have been. At the fest I did it the first year, and then the second year, my cousin's kids wanted to do it. I was like,
great,
do it, But the parades were tough because parades are in July, and it's usually about 90 ass.
It's called punishment.
Oh my God.
Yes. All right. So I digress. I'm sorry. Yeah. So you got the Spirit Award.
So we got the Festival Spirit Award for basically having too much fun. Yeah.
And that's how you end up arrested 12 times, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah.
But that's a cool award to get to, right?
Yeah.
It says a lot about your business and your people.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. It was fun. We had a great time.
Yeah.
Driving out to Buffalo and doing all that, it's great. He keeps on asking me back, and I would love to, but as I'm getting older, too, it's just not... It doesn't, I don't want to say it the wrong way, but it's not like it's, bringing me in a ton of customers.
Right.
I got the recognitions. We got some nice newspaper articles out of it, and then that we did it. We wanted to go out there, see what we would do. We trophied, and then it was like so 2 years ago, I got the call from Drew, and they always invite, and it's not about if your wings are that great. It's not like you have the best wings in the world to be inducted. It's about how long you've been in the business. Oh. So it's the longevity that you have in there, or how there's some people that don't have restaurants but have been in the wing industry, and helping him, for a long time. And so that's why we were inducted. And
so that's a big deal to be on the Wall of Flame.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. If you look, there's probably I think they celebrate 25, 26 years now. They've been doing the Wing Fest.
That's cool.
And they only started that not too long ago, the National Hall of Flame.
Yeah.
But Wild Wings is in there, and Duff's, which is a big, huge place in Buffalo, and these establishments in Buffalo or nationally that we're also involved with.
That's really cool. Okay, so I love your story because it starts with family, Buffalo, idea, come here, do this, but then honored back there in the same in the same city. That's a really cool thing.
Once again,
Mom and Dad must have
Mom and Dad. It was for my dad. Unfortunately, he struggles. He's got some health issues there. So we were hoping we were going to get him out there, but 2 days before we we're going to leave or whatever, he had some issues, and so my mom and dad were not able to be there. We did FaceTime them, so they got to see it live. They were there, But it was about them, and once again, I made sure that everybody understood that it's about them. That they started this business, and I just got my hands on it.
Right. Are your folks still around?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, they must be really proud of you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was kind of a really cool thing. I do like that you could say, working together is hard. Working with family is almost impossible, right?
Yeah.
But to see how this comes through, the legacy of everything, right? I think it's great. So, that being said, what happens when Jim is done?
Oof. Well, you're in the restaurant business. You're never done.
Right, you're never done. Right.
This is my tomb. My daughter, who's out of college at Tampa, and she's in environmental science, and she's doing different stuff. There's no way I would ever, if she wanted to, sure. But I know the answer to that already. She's not a restaurant person, and I don't know if I would want to, put that on her also.
Sure.
And because it is a tough business, only crazy certain people can do that.
Amen.
And so I have a great staff back there. We've talked, about, like I said, that idea of opening up different places, and opening up, just like delivery and takeout only, not to have to sit down, and it would be only for wings and different stuff like that. So it is a little scary, not scary. The scariness is that I want this to continue. I don't want to be done and then, it's
this
done.
place can never be anything else.
Yeah.
Like till the end of time.
Right.
So how do we make that happen? I don't want to.
We've gone down these roads where people have come in and it got really serious, and then it just kind of pitters out,
Yeah.
It's always a money thing because it's,
Sure.
I would say, Gray's Lake. I love Gray's Lake. You go down there, take one of these buildings, kind of like what, what's the one on the corner there
Sammy's?
that the restaurant kind of, so what I'm getting at is like if you had this, a Frank's, and it was a sit down kind of, down in Gray's Lake, and you had, similar to it, the Emils, similar to the I'm trying to think of the other place that right on the corner there, right before the railroad tracks, beautiful building that they built in.
Oh, First Draft.
First Draft.
Yeah.
That was okay. Yeah. First Draft.
Is that what we're talking about? Big building right on center, right on the. No, maybe I don't know.
The other end though, near the railroad tracks. Was it First Draft? Oh, is that First Draft?
Yeah, right by the railroad tracks. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, but I think that it would be a gangbusters. Somebody would be an investor in that.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to do good.
Yes.
But I just,
But and that being said, like, how do you beat where you're at in Mundelein here? Half of the flavor of this place is actually the building itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be really hard to duplicate it. It would take somebody with the heart that you have, with the desire to be consistent, right, behind everything.
Yeah.
Right. But it's great.
Yeah. Okay, and if they do that, it's a winning
slam dunk.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So anybody interested? I see the twinkle in his eye here, like the sign of freedom a little bit of just to get out and do something.
Yeah.
Tell people, like, I was on your social media stuff. Let's tell people like where they can follow. Facebook, Instagram. Where do they follow?
Yeah. I'm not real. Finding a podcast, I found that. I'm not a real techie guy. Yeah.
If you're listening to this, you're halfway there. That you got to listen, right?
So, my wife takes care of a lot of that. Facebook. I don't think we have the Instagram, but somebody was talking to me about that.
Yeah.
We got to do that. Our
website.
Our website, franksfrommemories.com.
Okay.
And trying to think what else Jody has out there, but there are other.
Well, your Facebook's done well. You guys have a lot of followers on there. Shout out to everybody following, because it's cool for a restaurant to have that many people like looking. It's kind of a cool thing.
Well, I like my customers are amazing. I mean, I really the way that they enthusiastically talk about my place to other people and get them to come in or whenever they're here, and a lot of consistency, where they're coming back. Same customers coming back.
Right.
And so, it tells you a lot when you're running a business.
Absolutely. And Mundelein's been good to you.
It has.
Yeah.
Mundelein, this is where I grew up. I love Mundelein. When you could, you still can, but, when we were kids, we just ride our bikes all over this place. All over the seminary.
Yeah.
Just to be in there and, not causing any trouble, but,
just a place to ride, right?
Yeah.
And go explore.
Non-malice stuff, just,
Right. That's really cool.
But, yeah, it was it's a great place, and they're working on, building things up here.
Right.
We don't have a downtown, If anybody can tell me where downtown Mundelein is, I'd like to know.
Most people would say Route 45, right? 45 going.
Yeah, but try to cross 45.
Nope.
You're not going to do that, and there's really nowhere to cross.
No, and why would a chicken cross the road there? Anyway, what's the sign?
I don't know, but if it gets hit, I want those wings.
Right. I want one sign in here. What's the one I just read that I want to live in a world where a chicken can cross the road without their motives being questioned. That was great, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Like, why does it have to be that? Oh, you're right. Downtown Mundelein, there really is it's kind of a weird thing.
It is, and they're trying. They really are trying, but there is no downtown, and so Mundelein is downtown.
It's old school downtown right here. This is what I like to think of it. Like, it's a very unique location.
Yeah. They are going to do some work on here in in 5 years. They're going to redo these roads right here,
and the thing people need to know too is you have a really nice outside area to eat here too.
Huge patio.
Yeah.
Once this weather, starts to. Today's not a bad day actually, but there's several tables out there. Music's playing out there.
Right. It's beautiful here, and I hope that everybody knows, because the cool thing about podcasts that we talked about before is, like, this is being recorded in 2025, which sounds so weird to even say.
Yeah.
Like, because I didn't know what 40 years was once again. But this will be out there forever. So the legacy of what you've done, what your family has done, what your parents have done, like going through everything. Somebody listening to this 20 years from now, this place better be here.
Yeah.
Right? And better still be rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
I think
I love how you say that, though, because it's not something I just put together, thinking about this beforehand, but this will be out there.
It's a legacy of yours, too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And somebody will be like, now they know that Grandpa got arrested, and, but looking through, like...
Well, you said you're going to edit some of this stuff.
Right. I actually add stuff in. That's the part to make it sound worse.
Yeah. No,
and
I'm all good with it.
Blackmail. Right.
I am what I am.
Yeah. So anybody that hasn't been here, make sure you come out to Frank's, because this place is awesome. Before we close off, though, Jim, what have we left? We could probably sit and talk to you forever, but what are we leaving out, important ones that you want really people to know? Your passion has come through extremely clear. Your dedication, your consistency to employees, to community, to Super Bowl. You need to make sure to order for Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
It's the florist on Valentine's Day, right?
Oh, yeah.
You got to make sure they get everything in.
Yeah.
Anything I need to know? And don't be shy if there's anything
No, I would say, this is, I don't know if this is really on the same, the path, but, with the social media and stuff, as I said, I strive on doing the best job I can every day and making sure my staff is doing that. And every once in a while we mess up. Mm-hmm. And we will always fix that. So I would ask my customers, my base, that if we ever do anything, messing it up, which we try not to, but talk to me, talk to my manager, because we're old school. We'll take care of it right then. But if, when you get on to the social media and because one thing went wrong and you want to just destroy me for it, that's not who we are. We're not trying to do that. We want to follow up on those things and make sure so that is something that I would ask, we're that kind of person.
And I love that you say that because people are malicious in things they do. But every restaurant owner that I know would ask the same thing, right? Yeah. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Give the owner, give the manager a chance to make things right before you go out, because I don't think when you put your heart and soul to something like this, reputations can be damaged of something that might just not even be completely true. Right. So everybody else that's not writing reviews, take everything with a little grain of salt to maybe that person's having a crappy day or something and taking it out on other people. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So thank you for that. I think that's a good note for everybody. I appreciate you taking the time to be with me. We're going to make a little video here. We're going to cook some wings together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. This will be a lot of fun. Hey, Lake County, wherever you're at, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Apple, Spotify, no matter where you're at. That way, every week you'll be alerted to a new guest from Lake County that's going to come in, and we're going to keep doing a lot of different things. We try to build community here and bring people together. And with that being said, and with what we were talking about social media, I challenge everybody to get out there today. We'd never know what our friends, our family, even strangers are going through. So a simple, random act of kindness, especially in the world we live in today, it sucks. Like, people just aren't nice to each other. So get out and do one thing where it's holding a door for somebody, or just a smile, kind words. Text a friend that you haven't talked to in a while. Kindness spreads like wildfire, makes the world go round. So do your job and make it a better place today. Yeah. So, Jimmy, thank you, buddy.
You betcha.
Appreciate you being here. And we'll see everybody next week. Thank you, brother. And you better tag it. We'll go on and we're going to post one of these videos too, so check it out.
Sure.
See ya.